Hello and welcome to day 86 of 365 days of Facebook Live. My name is Jessica Lozano and I'm a women's relationship coach and feminine embodiment priestess. Got my hair in a braid after I just took a shower so it doesn't frizz up. Did not want to blow dry it, so we're gonna do that and maybe we'll see how it comes out. Okay. So today I want to talk to you about mother wounds, and because there is so much focus on the father and how the father has fucked up, how the masculine has fucked up and all of these things, and really focusing on the distorted masculine and how the masculine has not showed up and all the things, but there's so little talk about the mother wound. And I feel there's a really important reason for that. Because even with me and what I share with you online, I don't really go into the depths of my mother wounds specifically and really I talk about it in my closed containers, but I believe there's a reason for that. And I believe the reason for that is because the mother is very sacred. The mother is very sacred, and whatever your relationship with your mother was, but overall, I feel like the mother is sacred. Even just the feminine is sacred, which is why it's so easy to pinpoint it more to father versus really focusing on, there's also a lot of mother wounds that affect your relationship, that affect you as a woman, and affect your ability to create this sovereign identity that women need when you're going on this path of calling in your sacred union partner. The mother wound is such a big one. And I also believe that the reason why there's not a lot of talk on the mother wound is because I feel like it's more sensitive. For example, I'll just use myself as an example. If I talk about my father wounds, I feel like it's a little bit easier to talk about that, and I'm okay if my dad sees it for whatever reason, although my dad's not really online. But if I were to talk about my mother wounds, I feel like there's a different feeling to that of how would you respond if I wrote something about us and in more detailed about our mother wounds. I feel like that's that part I would not want her to read, and there's a sensitivity to it, and I feel like it just has to do overall to the feminine and especially to our mothers. There's a different level of, I don't think the word's respect, but a different level of honoring in that. But I just find it always very fascinating that we focus so much on the father wounds and how our fathers didn't show up and our fathers this, but the mothers have an equal and sometimes greater impact on both man and woman, because we come through our mother. We come through the portal of her womb, of her yoni or C-section, but basically we come through the portal of her womb. Right, so that portal of the womb and that connection that is created between mother and child is huge. And there is this unspoken bond that happens in order for us to create that connection with our mother, in order for us to stay accepted in the tribe, right? Going back to really primal times, you're accepted into the tribe and to stay protected and accepted and not ostracized, because then you would die, right? If we go back into those really ancient times. And it can still feel like that even now with so many people in the world, even now that you can live so independently, even now where you can pick and choose the life that you want in this world right now. Yet we are terrified to be cut from our family, to not be wanted by our family, to not be accepted by our family, to be the one that really breaks the mold, right? There is this huge fear, especially with the mother, when it comes to this piece. And this is why I think we don't talk about the mother wounds a lot. because it's such a huge, complex, embedded thing in our lives. And there's two different ways that I feel like our mother wounds can show up. Definitely how she treated us and how she showed love to us, and her embodiment. I feel like these two ways, how her embodiment was as a woman, was as you were growing up, because she could be completely different now, but how she was when you were growing up is the imprint that was impacted onto you, even if she is different now, including father. Even if father has completely shifted now, where they were is really what happened in those first 0 to 18 years of your life is huge, while you were living under their roof, right? Or even after that, because I know some people leave home very early, like 16 or whatever, as my mother did. So, because like when I reflect on my relationship with my mother, I'm like, well, my mother overall was really like good with us. She was very loving with us. Like, she always wanted to make sure that I was doing what I loved. She really believed in me achieving my dreams. Like, she's the one who really pushed gymnastics when my father was trying to not do it and trying to be a little frugal with his money. She's the one that was like, no, we have to do it. She always really wanted to provide a life for us that she never had. And I never felt not loved by my mother. I always felt loved by my mother. But yet, I had some big mother wounds in there. One of them being that when I was little, she got deported to Colombia for 2 years out of my life. And she didn't say goodbye to my brother and I because it was going to be too painful for her. And she felt that she would say goodbye, she wouldn't do what she needed to do to get her green card and come back to the United States, right? So for me, that hit a huge core wound of mine, which is abandonment, right? Which played out in my relationship to my ex-fiance, which was abandonment. I was terrified that he was going to leave me, right? And I didn't feel, and what the abandonment, of course, as a child, you think it's your fault, you think you're not worthy, right? So I'm not enough, all of these other things get piled on top of this, which was, of course, piled on into the relationship, which is nothing to do with father. The abandonment wound is everything to do with mother, because I was under my father's care. My father never abandoned me. My mother did, even though she didn't. But as a child, that's the perception that I had. That was my truth. Those 2 years, I don't even remember. Those 2 years, she would call and she would write letters. I don't remember any of it. I only remember going to visit her once in Colombia, and that was it. Other than that, no memories. No memories. So that's how traumatic it was for me. And that core belief that I created within myself, and with love. I was like 6 years old. So this is big part of your life. I think from 0 to 8, I think where these huge beliefs really set in. I think that is the biggest chunk of our childhood. I think a lot of our childhood, but for sure from 0 to 8. And it wasn't that she did it to me on purpose, right? You know about some parents who just don't want their children. They really reject their children, and therefore there's an abandonment wound that way. So the storyline with me is nothing of sort of what I hear from some of my clients, where the mother is very abusive, emotionally, physically, all of these things, like purposely to their children. There's something that has been washed over this mother that's like pure malintent, right? So my personal relationship with my mother wound was nothing like that. I mean, you guys probably see me posting online, like me and my mom are very close. And this wound created something deep within me in relationships. Mother wound created this lack of feeling loved, this lack of feeling like unconditionally loved, like I am not good enough, therefore you will leave me. So I have to show you how good I am in order for you not to leave me, right? Which is what I played out pretty much almost the entire 6 years of my relationship with my ex-fiance, until I finally was like, I'm no longer fearing this abandonment. I'm going to stand and love myself through this whole time and know that I will have my own self-love and my own back, and that's all I really need. I don't need you to be that for me, which is what I was playing out. I needed him to be that to validate that I was worthy of love, right? So once I stood in my own self by healing this mother wound, by remothering myself and refathering myself, I was able to, one of the reasons why I was able to break free, right? So mother wound, abandonment, something that she kind of did to me, right? So, and then, but not really, but you get what I'm saying. And then there's the embodiment of her, right? Of her as a woman, of her shadows, of her light, of how she is and how she functions in the world. And how she, how she expresses herself to get her own needs met. Possibly even by you. Because that to me was more of the thing with me and my mother versus really anything that she ever really like did to me. It was more of her own wounding within herself and how she wanted to be loved. And she couldn't really express that or be that because she didn't have the deep self-love when I was growing up that she has obviously now, but when we were growing up. So therefore there was this energy of what I saw and what I felt from her that created the wounding of also trying to please and to make sure that she is happy and that she is satisfied and that she feels loved, which is what also played out in my previous relationship, right? So this mother wound, we have these two things, and then we have this bond, this unspoken bond that we have with our mother, which can also be exasperated through a trauma bond. So that time in my life or a traumatic event, meaning that time in my life where my mom abandoned us, where she got deported to Colombia, where that abandonment wound was created, there was a trauma that I experienced in that moment, and that can also can make you, the person who's the victim of the trauma, bond with the other person, right? And I think we see this in people get kidnapped and all these weird things. And this to me, in my experience, has really tied in a lot with this unspoken narrative about needing to side with our mother, right? Needing to side with her in order to stay in the collective, into the family paradigm that has been created in your generation, right? To stay alive, to stay connected, to not be ostracized, to not be different, to feel loved, right? Because we all want to feel loved. We all want to feel accepted. So in this time, I remember one of my psychotherapists, he said, you created a bond with her and now you need to separate yourself from her because you've enmeshed yourself within her. Basically, like, my identity was her because of this trauma, because I took on part of her and I needed to separate that. It was a really bizarre experience. And I just remember sitting down in my ex's house and closing my eyes and saying, okay, I need to release her. So I closed my eyes. I need to release her from me, or something like that. I need to release my mother from me because because I am not her. I am my own sovereign person. I am my own identity, and I have to separate from my mother to become sovereign, to be fully sovereign, to not be enmeshed, and also to be and create dysfunctional relationships or unhealthy dynamics within our mother-daughter dynamic and within my relationship with my partner. So I remember sitting down, I closed my eyes and I just started breathing. And after what felt like 5 minutes, it felt like something had released in my system. I just remember breathing in my mouth, or in my nose, out my mouth, just really cyclical and not thinking of it, just saying the mantra, like I release my mother. And it felt like something physically shifted in my body, like something was like removed. And then when I got out of this meditation, I looked at the time and 45 minutes had gone by. It felt like 5 minutes. I was like, holy bejesus, something just happened here. Something happened here where I really started to unmesh with my mother, right? This is what happens. We mesh in with our mother. We come from our mother. We come and we get so much of this entanglementness with our mother and our fathers too. So this was one of the beginning processes that happened with me. And then over time, really realizing that I need to have my own identity as a woman and not have an identity equal to my mother or repeat the same patterns of my mother. So with all this and with working with my clients, because a lot of the things I work with my clients aren't just father wounds, it's mother wounds. And our mothers create one of the biggest impacts in our lives. So I feel like I kind of went on a whole like tangent here and not really have any direct thing. It was kind of like a free-for-all. I have a couple of notes. But my point being in this live is to look at your relationship with your mother and starting from when you were young. How did you receive love from her? Did you receive love from her? What were some of the woundings that were created through just her natural mistakes that she's made in life that weren't necessarily directly to be impacted to you, but they did impact you? And how does she request her needs to be met, right? Because for me, for example, my mom didn't know how to ask for her needs to be met, nor did she know how to have good boundaries at the time that we were growing up. So her energy was very manipulative in trying to get her needs met. So this is one thing that I also attracted in my relationship, a manipulative man, because he didn't know how to be so direct and just ask. He actually had a lot of feminine energy, which is another thing that I want to say here about the feminine energy, is a lot of men who are controlling, who are narcissists, who are manipulative. The one trend that I see when I talk to women who are in this relationship and they know about their past, about these men, they have a big mother wound, like huge mother wound. And I'm like, that's interesting. It's not the father. It's not about the father. And these men, it's about their mother. Interesting, huh? So going back to what I was saying, what was her embodiment growing up that you saw as how she acted as a woman and how she showed up in her relationships with either your father or other men? And what are some things that she speaks, maybe didn't ever say with her words, but through her body showed? Let me think about how I want to say this. There's a damn fly in here. I gotta turn on the freaking mosquito light. Her embodiment, how she requested to receive love for you, and also her embodiment of just how she operated as a woman and how she carried herself in her life, and what are some of these unspoken beliefs that you believe, that you can probably assume and imagine that you have, that have enmeshed yourself with your mother, specifically about men or relationships in life, because you have adopted them as well just by being in her womb and her bloodline and through what you saw growing up. What are the things that you're scared of disconnecting from with your mother? What are you scared of in confronting with your mother? Right? What are you scared of saying that could probably create the biggest ruffle in your relationship? What are some things, unspoken truths that she believes about men, about money and the masculine and God? Right? What are some of these that you've seen her do and act, or that she's verbally said? Because a lot of times it's not always about what they say. And I know some parents are like, well, I don't say certain things around my children. It doesn't matter what you say. It matters what you embody. Children are very smart. They can feel it. They feel the energy. And when you meet someone, I'm sure you can feel, sometimes they say certain things, but you feel something is off. So it's not always about what you say in front of your children. It is about your embodiment. They read everything. So you may write these things down and feel like, well, no one's ever said this to me, but it doesn't matter. It's because you felt it, and your energy is interpretable. You interpret energy. That's how people channel. They interpret the energy that is bringing in through them and then being spoken in the human language, and whatever language they choose. You get what I'm saying? So these are some of the processes that I take my clients through in my one-on-one mentorship, so that we can break these entanglements that keep us stuck in these really vicious cycles. That keep you stuck in these really vicious cycles. Because these vicious cycles is what's going to keep you in the relationships or lack of relationships that are not fulfilling to you, right? And our relationships are meant to be satisfying and so fulfilling and so expansive, challenging, yes. They can challenge you. They should challenge you. If you're not growing in your relationship, then there's something wrong. Something's not right. But it's not going to be a suffering thing. So with my clients, I really work with them on breaking these patterns and healing the mother and father wounds and creating this new embodiment of a woman that can be the match of these relationships, of the relationship of their dreams. And it starts with really disentangling with, I don't want to say roots, it's not the right word, with the original blueprint is the best way that I can put it. Untangling ourselves with the original blueprint and create a new blueprint for yourself that feels so divine, and that you know that you are a catch, like you know it. So, and when you know that you're a catch, like full body know it, ooh, girl, you are unstoppable. So if you are interested, you can message me for my 6-month mentorship. I'm taking new clients up in August. And I would love to talk to you and see if this is it for you. We can also start a payment plan now and can probably extend it maybe 7 months, since you'll be starting about a month early. So, which would be cool for you if that's something that would fit more of your budget needs. And, but yeah, I think that's it for today. Something for you to contemplate on. I haven't really spoken about mother wounds, so this is very fresh about what I'm teaching. So the transmission was a little bit kind of, just speaking my fresh thoughts out in there. But let me know how this resonates with you. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what stands out for you. Let me know if those 3 questions, what comes up for you. I'm really curious. And I would love your feedback on this specific topic, because this is one that's not talked about at all. And it greatly impacts our relationship to love and the men. So have a beautiful rest of your day, and message me if you're interested in my 6-month mentorship program, Sacred Union. All right?